In this video tutorial for CTTC's Digital Assets Management System, we're going to cover how to share assets with both individuals that have username and passwords for Mediabin and recipients that don't have access to Mediabin. And relating to that, we're going to discuss our shopping cart and how we can utilize that as kind of like a lightbox system and how that might be a good tool while working on projects with other people in the organization. So the first thing that we'll do is look at adding items to our shopping cart. So we'll pretend that we've already conducted a search here and our search results are showing in our assets area. And we'll go ahead and select these three images. And if you go to the upper right hand side toolbar, you can see that there's a drop down menu box for the shopping cart. And we have go to cart or add to cart. In this case, we'll add to cart. And it gives us a little notification that those items have been added to our cart, and then we can click on Go to Cart. And you can see that this is my shopping cart. I have those three images in there at this time. Now the shopping cart is unique to the user and is perpetual with the exception of using the email shortcut option, which we'll discuss a little bit later. Unfortunately, Mediabin does not have lightbox features, and some of you may have worked with iStock or Getty Images and know about lightboxes and how handy those can be with working with projects. We don't have the ability to add that feature into Mediabin, and so your shopping cart is going to be a great way for you to store images when you're working on a project like you would a lightbox. So whether we're in our shopping cart or we're just browsing through some search results, we can make selections to share images or assets with people. Right now we're in our shopping cart and we only have three individual assets in there, so we can quite easily just select the checkbox next to them and select all three images. But if you were to say have quite a few images in your shopping cart, or you wanted to share the entire results of a search with someone, you could come down to this drop-down box and select all. They're all selected right now. I'm going to clear all, which you can't see. It's just outside of your view. There's a clear all on that drop-down box. And I'll go ahead and select all so we can take a look at that. So again, if you had quite a few images or wanted to share all the search results with someone, you could easily select all of those before moving on to share the assets. Just a note on best practices for sharing assets or images with individuals outside of the organization before we start getting into how we're going to share these assets. Ultimately, CTTC wants anyone that's going to be needing access or utilizing these assets to be able to request and then receive user IDs and passwords for access to Mediabin. That's going to allow us to track the use of these images and also make sure that they're agreeing to the content license agreement before they download and use the images. But for right now, with phase 1 of the rollout of this Mediabin Digital Assets Management Program, all CTTC staff and vendors and other key users have already been issued those usernames and passwords. Phase 2 of the program is going to include rolling this out to the public so that we can begin to share our assets with those individuals as well. So enough about that. Let's get on to how we're actually going to share these assets. Right now we have the three assets selected, and if you go up to the toolbar along the top, there's an email drop-down box. And you have several different options here. You have email URL, email as a shortcut, email as an attachment, email as a link, and then there is access to an address book for you to pull from. These first two, email as a URL and email as a shortcut, are options that we'll utilize to share assets with individuals that are Mediabin users. The first one we'll talk about is email URL. So we'll go ahead and click email URL. And we get an email URL dialog box come up, and I'll go ahead and put myself as the recipient here. And you can see that there's a sent by name. You can change that if you'd like. It gives the address, our CTTC email address, and a subject line. And you can add an additional message and hit submit. It lets us know that that email was sent successfully. And we can go over to my email and take a look at what that's going to look like. So this is the email that Mediabin has generated for your recipient with the URLs for each one of the individual images or assets that you've decided to share with them. You can see here that it's created kind of a contact sheet for you. So this is useful when you are working on projects with someone and you want to share with them the images or assets you might have selected for a page layout or some other kind of project. Each one of these links is a link to the individual image, and we'll go ahead and click on one of them and see where that takes us. You can see here that it takes us directly to this image. We can see the large preview of it, and we can see all of the rights information, expiration, keywords. All the information pertaining to this asset is right here available to us. You can hit the next button, and that's going to take you to the URL for the next image in the collection of assets that you've shared with someone. So as you can see, if we go back to the email again, the email URL function allows us to send kind of a contact sheet with thumbnail images of each one of the assets we wanted to share, and it would direct the user to the page with that image information itself. Let's go ahead and take a look at the other functions as well. So the next sharing function that we'll do is the second one available to share assets with other Mediabin users. We'll go ahead and select these three assets in our shopping cart, come up to the toolbar, and click on Email as a Shortcut. That's going to give you your email assets dialog box again, and I'll go ahead and enter my email. Again, you have access here to your Outlook contacts or an address book if you'd like, and you can add an additional message and hit submit. Mediabin's going to go ahead and send that email. We'll go back to my email and take a look at that. So this is the email that Mediabin is going to generate and send to your recipient sharing those assets. And what it's done is created a shortcut to the collection of assets that you decided to share. Here again, it's created kind of a contact sheet for you to review, and if you click on this link here or any one of these image links, it's going to take you directly to that collection of images. Now the one caveat that I mentioned with using your shopping cart as a lightbox system is that anytime that you utilize this email as a shortcut option and create a collection of assets, if you or someone else clicks on this collection of assets, Mediabin removes the images that are in your shopping cart currently and replaces them with this collection of assets. So, two things about that. One is that if you are working with Mediabin and using your shopping cart for Lightbox, make sure to send yourself a shortcut of these images so it kind of saves, quote unquote, a Lightbox or saves that shopping cart in memory, so that if you need to refer back to the images that you were working with, you can save this email and you can go back, click here, you have your contact sheet, you know exactly which items are in that collection. You can click on the shortcut, it's going to take you to your shopping cart, and in your shopping cart will be the assets that we've created the shortcut for. The only thing is take care, because maybe somebody's in the middle of working on a project and they've been plopping assets into their shopping cart, and you send them a shortcut to a collection of assets, and not knowingly they click on the shortcut and they erase all of the assets that are in their shopping cart at the moment. So I'll show you how this works. We go on the email here and we click on the link, and it takes us to the shopping cart. Now, this really looks identical to our shopping cart because this is what I sent to ourselves. But I'll give you an example. If we go ahead and add a few more items into our shopping cart, I'm just browsing through the folders, and we'll add several more items to our shopping cart so that we have something to look at how this is going to work. So I have many items selected here. I'm going to add to shopping cart. It lets me know that I've added 5 to my shopping cart, and let's go to the cart and take a look at that. You can see that there's quite a few more assets in here. Let's go back to that email where I created the shortcut based on the collection of assets that I had wanted to share with someone. We're back here at the email, we click on this shortcut, and it takes us back into Mediabin, but as you can see right here, it says there are only 3 assets in my shopping cart. We are looking at my shopping cart at the moment, and what Mediabin has done is it's taken that shortcut, that collection of images, and replaced my shopping cart images with those images. So if you're working with your shopping cart as a lightbox or utilizing that for building up projects, make sure to send yourself a shortcut before you exit and log out of Mediabin, so that if someone else sends you a shortcut, you don't lose all the work that you've done. Or you can just keep this in mind and choose not to utilize this feature. Whichever works for you, you just have to work with it, see what ends up working out better. But I wanted to explain the caveat to the shopping cart and how you can utilize the email shortcut option versus the email URL option. Once again, to recap, the email URL, Mediabin creates a unique URL for each one of the images in your selections of images. And when you email a shortcut, it creates a link to a collection of images, which then replaces the images that are in your shopping cart. So that covers sharing assets with an individual that is within the organization or currently has a Mediabin username and password.